Welcome to On the Brink, the show that talks about all the reasons not to become an entrepreneur. Every fortnight, we speak to an accomplished founder about the fine line between breakdown and breakthrough. These conversations take a look at all sides of our guests' journeys, from the struggles, risks, and stresses that come with the territory to the purpose that propels them forward anyway. This show is brought to you by Brinc, a global venture accelerator empowering the world's game changers since 2014. I'm Shailene, and today we are with CTO and co-founder of Airhive, a direct air capture tech startup revolutionizing carbon removal with their patented technology. Jasper, how are you?
Hi, yeah, really good, thanks. Happy to be here today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So what brings Jasper On the Brinc is that Airhive actually completed Brinc's climate tech program just last year. And since then, Airhive has been making some pretty huge moves. But before we dive headlong into all of that, let's start at the beginning. So Jasper, could you tell us about what led to the creation of Airhive and what you and the co-founder, Rory, aimed to achieve when you first started out?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm trying to think back. I was actually in Senegal doing a research residency at AIMS, which is the African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. So that was part of my PhD at Imperial. So I'm studying industrial decarbonization. So I was looking at some of the new mathematical models for some of the chemical reactions that are related to carbon capture and air capture. So Rory had finished a master's in climate economics and was looking for someone who had climate-related engineering research experience. So he gave me a call, actually found me on LinkedIn, which is quite a funny way to meet these days. And yeah, so we spoke about direct air capture, and direct air capture is where carbon dioxide is captured directly from atmospheric air. So it's a negative emissions technology. It's actually possible to draw down on carbon dioxide in the air and reduce the levels of concentration in the atmosphere by durably storing that carbon dioxide. So we spoke about direct air capture, and my PhD focuses on hard to abate industries. So I was very much aware of the need for direct air capture to have any chance of reaching net zero by 2050, and also to harness the overshoot for 1.5 degree global temperature rises. So I think we both agreed that it was the technology that was really far away from where it needed to be in terms of technology readiness and deployment, and it had such a big non-negotiable stake in all of the climate models. So after that, we set out to build Airhive's technology, and we wanted it to be low energy, based on 100% renewables, and much cheaper than what was out there currently. Yeah, that was our main aspiration.
That's fantastic. Since you guys started out, you guys have reached quite a few milestones already. What is something your company has achieved recently that you're especially proud of? From what I hear, I know that you've got at least a couple things you can talk about, so please share.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask if I could say two, so I'm glad you said
that.
Yeah, we've just started commissioning our first capture system. It's a pilot in Teesside. So this is in one of the UK's net zero clusters. So it's a UK funded grant. When the full system's up and running in June, it will capture 60 tons per year. So that's about the emissions of about 15 cars per year. So it's quite big. Our first pilot, we actually have, the other news is we have two 2,000 ton per year pilots, so much bigger pilot systems that are being delivered later this year. So one of them is for Coca-Cola, who are very excitingly using our green CO2 to put CO2 into their drinks. So they're putting the bubbles of CO2 to decarbonize their beverage making. And the other one is for Deep Sky. They're a Canadian project developer, and they're amazing people, and they're durably storing the CO2. So they'll be a negative emissions pilot. So when they're up and running, they'll be some of the biggest DAC facilities on the earth. So we're really excited about that.
Huge congratulations to you both. I'm sure it wasn't easy. And I know that in asking my next question, your answer might be quite technical, but that's okay. Don't lean away from that. What was the biggest challenge in accomplishing that as a team?
We've got a really small team, so there's a lot going on. There's just 7 of us in the core team. So I think we're all juggling lots of different things. When you're doing things like this, lots of things can go wrong. So it's making sure that everything is going to plan. And up until September, it was just 3 of us. So I think it's been the challenge of managing lots of things at once. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's quick expansion. So you guys are definitely on the right track. Naturally, innovation carries inherent risks and challenges. So for you, what makes it worthwhile in the climate tech space?
Yeah, and it's a really good question. I think we all agree that climate justice is one of the biggest problems that our world's facing at the moment. And I really enjoy the creativity of research and development, of doing scientific innovation. I think it's rewarding and exciting to be able to apply some theory and ideas to actually build real things. I was really lucky to do a PhD where it was that interface between theoretical stuff as well as building real machines. I think that's been super fun. And to build things that don't yet exist it's a joy. So I think we're always relying on years of effort behind us, but it feels special to contribute to that as a job. So I feel very grateful.
Very well put. In terms of your background, like you briefly mentioned, you started out with a degree in physical natural sciences and chemical engineering, and then you actually held a position as a bioprocess engineer at a cell-based meat production company. And are you currently still finishing up your PhD in chemical engineering?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so still finishing. Yeah, I've got a few months to go, so should be done very soon.
You're a busy man. Thank you for squeezing this interview in.
I've got very accommodating PhD supervisors. Yeah.
So reflecting on your career as a whole so far and everything you've learned doing your PhD in industrial carbonization and climate tech, can you share a critical turning point that has significantly influenced your approach as CTO, and tell us why?
Yeah, I think my time as CTO has been quite short. So there's, I guess, maybe I'll speak a bit about some of the biggest influences in my scientific career. I think that would be definitely my elder sisters. Both of my sisters have pursued careers in climate. So Kimber, one of my sisters, is a meteorologist in Australia, and Coco worked at Tesla in next generation energy storage. So they both, I think, inspired me when I was younger to work in climate. I remember when I was about 20 studying, at university in my first or second year. And I asked Kimber, my sister, what should I do that I can help the climate? She was studying and moving towards meteorology at the time. And she actually said to me that I should do air capture, which I haven't thought about recently. I forgot about it for quite a while. And she referred to a technology in Switzerland, which I now realize is Climeworks. Quite funny. But I think they've always created feminine leadership and power in our family. And I think I would like to, I aspire to channel their energy in what I do. So I think simply steaming ahead with traditional approaches to innovation won't allow us to reach climate justice. So anything moving fast must also be fair.
Absolutely. And I just want to recognize that your parents must be so incredibly proud of all three of you. Amazing achievements. And the fact that you gave props to your sisters, you got points in my book for doing that.
I'm sure they'll be happy too.
Yeah. So next question, in terms of mitigating risks and stresses and all that, especially as someone who has as full of a schedule as you do, I'm sure, how do you mitigate all that? Like, how do you mitigate the stress that comes with fast-paced tech development in general?
I think to mitigate risk at Airhive, like a company-wide strategy, we always try to have backup plans. We try to make sure that even if things are going well, we're not relying on one thing to keep on going well, and that we have other options to still move forward. So we want to make sure that we're spread across different pathways so that if one completely flops, which sometimes, whether it's pilot projects or partnerships, they can go wrong. So making sure that we have lots of things going on. And then I think with stress, I ride my bike to work, and I think I'm always surprised at the therapeutic effect of breathing and being outside. I enjoy being by the sea and in green spaces. I think those are big things, and chatting and being silly with loved ones as well. But probably number one is actually staring out this window blankly is my number one stress activity.
Yeah, I can imagine you need to give your mind rest pretty often considering your line of work. My next question, in terms of the aspects of entrepreneurship specifically, are there any parts of this whole founder journey that surprised you once you were fully immersed in the process?
Yeah, definitely. I think coming from a PhD where it's quite often, working on your own, obviously you work in research groups and there's lots of collaboration, but quite often it's your thinking or your work. So I think I was really surprised about how different that changed, suddenly talking to so many different people from different backgrounds, figuring out how to communicate at the right level to different audiences of a whole breadth of backgrounds, all who have really interesting stories. So I think that's been a surprise, but also a big joy.
So do you feel like you've had to step out of your comfort zone a little bit as CTO, or are you quite comfortable putting yourself out there naturally?
Yeah, no, definitely felt uncomfortable at times and big challenges, but a pleasure still. It's been really nice and fun.
Learning journey for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So in terms of things that have helped you on this journey, do you have any tools, resources, or maybe even personal rules that you abide by that have really helped make a difference in moving Airhive towards its goals?
Personal rules. I'm not sure what my personal rules would be. I think I've started going to bed a lot earlier this past year than I ever have. So I like to wake up early and just have an hour of calm, slowly eat muesli, which helps me relax before the day. I think we make sure that we go into the lab and office most of the week now so that we can, create that quick collaboration and energy.
And if you could start over, are there any foundational steps that you would prioritize to streamline Airhive's development from the outset? Do you think there's anything you guys could have done differently to make things a bit more seamless?
Yeah, definitely. I think at first we built our first prototype in Rory's garage. We didn't have any funding at the time. And I remember the first vessel for our capture system, we actually went to Devon and blew it ourselves with a master glass blower. So we did a lot of things that were really fun, but very time consuming and difficult. And I think now we actually have funding, we can do things much more a better way to do things. We get our glass delivered in 3 days from a trusted supplier now. So it's things that I also smashed that glass we made about a week later. So there's lots of things that I would do differently now, but also were really fun when we first did them. So no regrets there. I think we also went out to investors quite early on. Maybe would spend more time making sure, now that I know what you need to go through that process, I would maybe make sure that I had all of those bases covered before speaking to people, as opposed to learning as we went. But that's the part and parcel of doing this for the first time.
Yeah, it's the grass is greener on the other side, because I've done a few of these interviews now, and some founders say, don't wait, just go. And then others say, make sure you have everything ready before you go. So I really think it's just a grass is greener kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
I do love the fact that you're telling me that your guys' founder story started in a garage, just because that's such a stereotypical founder story.
Yeah, no, it's quite funny. Yeah, no, it was fun. It was in the middle of winter, so some very cold hands, but no, it was really fun. And it was really important for Rory and I becoming really good friends as well, was going through that together.
Yeah, essential, and also shows such commitment. But now I just would like to ask you a little bit about Brinc, because obviously that is how we have come together for this conversation. Acknowledging that Airhive has just completed its program with Brinc in 2023, what prompted you guys to join?
Yeah, I think at the time we were looking for an accelerator program with expertise and networks in building climate companies like our own. We heard about Brinc and we knew that it was quite well established and had good people had spoken about it really positively. I think that was a really big factor, as well as it looked like the program had a lot of structure and also access to networks and also resources that would be really useful for us, particularly at that time when we were fundraising our first round and hadn't moved into a lab yet. So I think that was the main reason. It looked like a really good fit for the timing. Yeah, and indeed it was.
How would you say the Brinc Accelerator program shaped your business or your personal growth? What did you gain?
Yeah, definitely. I think we worked a lot with Janina and Elise and Rory especially. They were really amazing. They gave us so much advice at the time that was so timely to where we were at. They put us in touch with people at the right time. And especially at a time when it was the depths of winter. I think it was just coming out of winter and fundraising was difficult. And they provided a lot of energy and positive support to make sure that we were resilient and eventually get to where we wanted to be. So I think they were supporting us just before we had some really big news with what we were awarded the Coca-Cola pilot project, and also just before we moved into our lab. So they really were there at the start, and for a really exciting time for us.
Fantastic. So good to hear that it was such a positive experience. For any founder that is considering an accelerator and watching this, what advice do you have for them?
I think in general, just go for it. I think it's a really good way to spend your time as an early founder. It's almost impossible to navigate all of the different complexities of being a founder without things like accelerator programs. It's like an ecosystem in any field. We've been incredibly grateful to all the accelerator programs we've been in. So we've been through Air Miners, Remove, Third Derivative, Creative Destruction Labs, and they've all offered, as well, of course, Brinc, but they've all offered their own style and advantages. So I think if you have the time to do them, and all of them bring such a special point of view to the ecosystem.
Thank you for sharing that. And my final question, what is the next milestone you are most excited for your business to achieve?
I think for us, it's like showing what we've done in our lab in London and then proving it at pilot scales. I think that will really prove the main goals, which is to have something that's like low energy and based on renewables and cheaper than other technologies out there. So I think that's what we're really excited to do this year.
Absolutely. thank you so much for answering all of my questions. Before we go, we have a game that we would like to play with you. It's called Madness or Greatness, as in on the brink of madness or on the brink of greatness. So we're going to challenge our guest with a series of scenarios about the highs and lows of entrepreneurship. So your task is to judge each scenario as either madness, meaning a definite entrepreneurial faux pas, or greatness, a strategy or habit that could pave the way to success. So it's really easy. Don't overthink it. Are you ready?
Yeah, of course.
Skipping sleep to work more hours.
Madness. Yeah, I sleep a lot.
Oh, okay, you heard it from the PhD student first. All right. And next, saying yes to every opportunity that comes your way.
I do struggle with this one, but I think, I like to say yes, but no, also madness.
Yeah, madness. Interesting. I'm glad you said yes to me for this interview. Right? Reading at least one book a month. Are you a big reader?
I am a big reader, yeah, although this last month's been a bit slack. But yeah, I think that's, what are we meant to say if it's not madness? Greatness, yeah, that's greatness.
Lastly, taking at least one day off a week completely to disconnect from work.
One day a week, yeah, definitely. Greatness.
Yeah. Greatness. Awesome. All right, see, that was painless. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer our questions. Jasper, is there anything you would like to add before we sign off for the day?
No, just thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure and really fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. If you would like to learn more about Airhive, please make sure to visit airhive.earth. And to learn more about all the other amazing founders and mentors in Brinc's ecosystem, head to brinc.io or subscribe for the next episode of On the Brinc. And we'll see you next time.